To conclude the morning session, I'm really excited to introduce our friend, Don Patton, a native and current resident of Cairo, a retired licensed counselor with a diverse professional background. Don traveled nationwide as a recruiter and counselor for the Southern Illinois University Carbondale pre-medical program. He is now the president of the Cairo Historical Preservation Project, which has raised more than $120,000 in just 3 years. Benefiting landmarks such as Magnolia Manor, Ward Chapel A.M.E. Church, the Public Library, and the Custom House. He's married to Carla, a retired teacher who's similarly devoted to community engagement. Don's presentation is called From Past to Future, Utilizing Preservation to Ignite Community Renewal in Cairo, Illinois. Please welcome Don Patton.
Thank you, Bob. First, let me just start by saying that, as you've heard from Bob, that I'm a lifelong resident of Cairo, Illinois, my wife and I. I attended parochial schools here, public school. I've known my wife a lifetime. I see some of the friends in here I've known a lifetime. And what I want to do this morning is to invite you to a different perspective of Cairo, Illinois, and talk a little bit about how we, the Cairo Historical Preservation Project, is strategizing to uplift this community. It's no secret if you go on the internet, there's tons of information on the internet. Some of it is not true, some of it is true. But what I want you to come go along with me to see the positive synergy that the Cairo Historical Preservation Project is imparting on our community, and people are getting involved. And so with that said, let's see here. We started about, well, I can tell you exactly. Pete Cahay, who is a former resident of Cairo, lives in Grand Rapids. And it was December 31st of 2020. I was watching television, it was about 10:30 at night, and I get this text saying, Don, would you be interested in starting an organization that would revitalize some of the buildings in Cairo due to the pandemic? And at that time and moment, I'm thinking, wow, man, this New Year's coming in, so I told myself, I'm gonna hit pause and think about this tomorrow. So I got up the next day and I was talking to my wife, Carla, and I said, I've always loved history. I love Cairo. We love Cairo. I think this is a project worth doing. And so we decided that let's go all in. And so from there, we developed, during the pandemic, an upstart, not-for-profit organization full of people with commitment and skills to try to impact some of the great architectural buildings we have here in Cairo. We organized on March 18th, 2020, and our first board meeting was on April 1st, 2021. And from since then, we've been moving, like my grandmother would say, like a house on fire, okay? And so during my presentation here, you will see here are our missions. Basically, our mission is simple: to protect and preserve those iconic buildings that some of you have seen before, but also you'll see on our tour, and try to raise funds and try to conserve some of these buildings. Number two is to bring some inclusivity into play. If you read Cairo's history, a lot of people are left out, and particularly African Americans. And so we want to highlight that in a way that people understand some of the accomplishments of people that look like me. And then lastly, we want to bring some of the younger people along. Younger people. So I'm old. I was born in 1951. I'm active, but I'm old. I'm an active old. But bring some of the younger people along. And so over the last 3 or 4 years, we've had younger people involved in our heritage walks. In other words, we've had them to shadow us in some of these activities. And that's a good thing. So who are we? Who is this group? Well, I've told you a little bit about myself, but fortunately here today, we have 2 of our board members here today. So let me start by saying that we're all volunteers. We have no paid staff. We work a great deal trying to uplift this community around some of our precious treasures. And the reason why we've been so successful is that we each have a different skill set. You know, I speak for myself. I'm in the details, and I'm just sometimes overbearing when I come to details. You know, as a kid growing up, big sports fan, baseball, basketball, and I see some admirers. I know, Farouz, you're a big Denver Nuggets fan. I'm sorry for what's going on right now, but anyway. But growing up, I used to memorize all the baseball averages of my top, Willie Stargell, Stan Musial, and all that. So I'm into details. So that's my skill set. Robin Patterson, she's here. And I want her to stand up and she's been in real estate. She knows sales. She's enthusiastic about what we're doing. Stand up, Robin, and say a couple words and let us know who you are.
I just want to say it's a privilege to be here today to see a group like this come together in a place of education that is definitely needed, especially going out to our young generation, such as our own Ronnie Woods is doing, and God sent him back to the school system this year to educate our children on our history. But I'm Robin Patterson, and I was born and raised here. 1954.
Youngster.
I attended school. I'm old, but I'm not as old as that.
You're a youngster.
But I was born and raised here, attended elementary, graduated from high school in 1972. I lived through that civil rights era along with classmates in the room, myself and Mary, and a couple more in here. We all lived through that. Carla, of course, died.
Yeah.
So in 2020, my husband and I moved here after I had been gone away for 20 years. We moved back here in 2020 of November. 2021, January, I got a call. So who that call came from was Carla Patton, who said, my husband would like to talk to you about this history group, and so on and so on and so on. And would you be willing to, so on and so on and so on. So the next couple of days, Mr. Patton paid me a visit. Knocked on the door after his wife, lifelong friend, had called me. Because I often get the question, how did you end up here after just moving back here and been away for 50 years, after 50 years? But this was why, because I didn't know the path that had been laid out for me and why I was to come back, and never had planned on it. But after coming back and being here now 5 years, I understand this was the journey I was supposed to be on. So with that, and being a part of it, it's just been such a eye-opening experience for history. Because what's going on here today, we didn't have when I was growing up and going to school here. If I had known that, I may not would have left. So I think what we're doing here today, what you're doing, thank you. I think it's an eye-opening to everyone. I just pray that it's a way that this can come out into the community for our children. If we can't get them here, let's see about how we can get you to them here, so they can know their history here in Cairo. So this is what we're doing, and Mr. Patton, okay, he's going to tell me something. So if you would talk about next.
I will.
We'll get to that, but then, because that's who I am too. But thank you all very much. I'm going to sit down here.
Thank you, Robin. You're eating into my time, so Hope, would you stand and give us about 30 seconds, please?
Hello, I'm Hope Green. I'm also a member of the Preservation Project. I guess I'm the younger generation that they refer to. I was born in 1978. But I am a lifelong resident of Cairo. I love Cairo. Bringing Cairo back is my mission. I believe blue. So that's me. Whenever you see anything about Cairo, you're going to see blue. All right.
So Amy Farrell, who's not here, she's our treasurer, and she's the bank manager at the bank downtown. And Pete Cahay, he's the founder. He's in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and he's into parts and sales. And so that's our board. So moving right along, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. Marcella did an excellent job, but I have this saying about Cairo, it's where history flows together. And not to get, I think Marcella has done an excellent job. Only thing I would point out that was missing in the history books when I was growing up was the 1870s. Actually, after the Civil War, 3,000 African Americans remained in Cairo. And from there, the black agency of our people were able to involve themselves in the political structure of Cairo. A guy by the name of John Bird ran for magistrate and won 3 times. And he was a big advocate of public education. He came to Cairo as an abolitionist of the African Methodist Episcopal Church. And I don't want, but it's important to know that. I didn't know that, it wasn't pointed out in my history books. But he later went on to Springfield. No, while he was in Cairo, 1877, he was appointed by the governor of Illinois to be on the board of University of Illinois as a trustee, the first African American to be on the board of University of Illinois. I could go on, but like I said, I cut it in my time. But let me move on. So recently, my wife read. She said she reread this. Yeah. I know why the cage birds sing. Maya Angelou. I read it, and when I was reading it, Cairo came to mind. Cairo is like that metaphorical cage bird. We ever since the beginning of our existence, we've been trying to find our identity. We've been trying to find our voice. And it's interesting how it plays into what we're trying to do at Cairo Historical Preservation. And that is to be resilient, to highlight the positive things that are going on, but recognize the struggles that we have. Incidentally, on page 59 of Maya Angelou's autobiography, she mentioned Cairo. Did you know that? Yeah. Grandma Baxter was raised by a German family in Cairo. She described her grandmother as an octoroon, a term that I was not familiar with. What is an octoroon? Well, it's a term rarely used, but she wrote it in her book. An African American who has no African American features. We would say that that person could easily pass in a dominant white society. But she chose not to. She moved to St. Louis. Her grandma Baxter attended nursing school at the famed Homer Phillips Hospital. Married her husband there, and from there, we know what's happened. That's how they developed their family. But this metaphorical cage bird, I think Cairo Historical Preservation, I know, we're allowing that bird to fly. And so the rest of my presentation is to show you how we're uplifting the community and the strategies that we're using. Now, there are a lot of, we like to offer a different perspective about Cairo. You see these counter-narratives, we're often a counter-narrative. You see Cairo is a ghost town. How can you dare live there? Nothing good's come out of Cairo. And I'm here to tell you that Cairo has a rich history. I'm here to tell you that people who live here love this town. I'm here to tell you that Cairo has an abundance of cultural assets. Preservationists, architectural design people, and many others would say that emotional geography is important from the standpoint that it brings people to you. And Cairo, whether you still live here or don't live here, we found from our experience, and I'm gonna get to the Cairo Magnolia celebration, people still love Cairo whether you live here or not. Right. We have people from all over the world doing great things. Journalists, actors, and they still talk about Cairo when they come. And so that's, in the last 3 years, this is, we raised each year we raise about $20,000. People come back from Florida, Texas. It's that relationship to the context of the buildings. It's important. And that's a strategy that we didn't necessarily think would happen, but it draws people back to our town. So how are we igniting the community? Well, I've talked about a few. We have a diverse board. As you saw the pictorial, black, white, young, old, different philosophies of life. Some of us talk more than others. But nevertheless, I'll speak to myself, Robin. I wasn't talking about you. But it's important to get these different perspectives. And that's important. The other important thing is recognizing the cultural assets in our building. That board there points out about 33 buildings in our town that have significance. Whether you're young, old, black or white, whether you live here or not, that's that emotional geography. And so recognizing the importance, we mapped that out a few years ago. And then May 3rd of next week, we will have our 4th annual Magnolia Day celebration. And that's when residents and non-residents will come into town and celebrate Cairo for what it is. Here's a picture from last year. You see some of you, let me see, I think I got something for that. No, it doesn't work. But this picture here is Quinn from Landmark, Illinois. These ladies here are River Lore. We had mimosas and great food. The ladies in the center there, been lifelong friends forever. That's Connie, my wife Carla, Mary is in the back, and Alva, Beth, yeah. And then we have veterans, and matter of fact, Leroy Patterson integrated Cairo High in 1951, led by the eminent and well-known Thurgood Marshall. He honed his skills in Cairo, and in 53, 21 students marched into Cairo High a year before the board versus Topeka, Kansas. So that's interesting. Again, there's the map. The other strategy we've used is digital engagement. And by the way, I forgot Tara Kishnick. They're younger than me and they're forgetting. But Tara Kishnick is on our board. She's the vice president. But her skill set is digital. She's a content expert. And so we have over 1,500 followers on our Facebook and Instagram page. I invite you to go to historicalcairo.com and you'll see all the great things that we're doing. But she does an excellent job in that. Here are our collaborative efforts, and when I ask for support, I look at support as a verb. Support is a verb, I collaborate. Well, how are you going to collaborate? Everybody on this list has helped us along the way in the last 4 years. I'm not going to go over all of them, but the National Park Service, the National Trust for Historic Preservation. We're trying to, and I'll talk a bit about reimagining Ward Chapel, but last year we wrote a grant for a planning grant, and we received, it was $50,000. And out of that, we were able to hire White and Borgononi out of Carbondale to give us a master plan. But 800 people applied. They narrowed it down to 131. Then finally 31 they gave the grant to. But there's several on here. Here's a special initiative that is engaging the community. Ward Chapel, we'll see it later. It's in disrepair, it's closed, but this building has so much history. I talked earlier about John Bird. He came to Cairo because the contraband camp. And he was, if you know anything about the African Methodist Episcopal Church, they not only did they want to support the spiritual, but the physical, as well as, and he came here, he and his followers came here to support the men and women in the contraband camp. And as a result of that, he stayed because he felt he had more work to do. But partners that have been involved in this has been A.M.E. Church, Preservation Futures, National Trust, University of Illinois Extension, Southernmost Tourism, and National Parks. At noon, Pastor Woods will not be able to be there. He has a funeral at 11:45. But we will go over some of the history of the church. While you have an opportunity, is there anything you want to say, Pastor Wood?
I'm gonna walk out, so that won't cut to your time. But the A.M.E. Church has been very supportive with the new bishop that's come in. We're getting ready to make some major changes as far as property and all that with the church. And thank God for all the people that have supported, but the group is going to see that church come back and be preserved and that history. So I thank you. See, Don, I could do that.
All right, appreciate it.
I have to. The other part of me, the Pastor Woods has to be at the funeral. So you all take care.
All right, thank you. The other special initiative that we come about is the Network to Freedom site. On the grounds of, used to be Pyramid Courts in McBride, and I didn't know this, but I was raised in Pyramid Courts. I lived there for 18 years. I did not know that was a contraband camp. No one told me. And later became McBride. But what we're wanting to do and what we will do is to honor those brave men and women who fought for freedom, who ran from slavery, escaped from slavery, came to Cairo. We want to develop a commemorative memorial park. I'm working with the University of Illinois Extension right now, with the architectural design folks, and we want it to be interactive and digital. And that's the other thing that we're doing. And so I don't know we have time to see that today, but there's a sign there that points out that on this lot, this area there were 32 barracks, there was a school that held 600 students, and a mess hall, and then across the street there were more barracks, but also a military installation. And that's important as well. One of the things that has come out of this work and working with various partners and you know, like I said, I look at support as a verb, is the great people that you run into. And in the concept of doing this, received a call from Quinn Anamoski from Landmark, Illinois, and he said he had a board member by the name of Dr. Medellina Novoa who was interested in Cairo and doing research around African American Heritage Trail, and I indicated that we had already started that discussion, but I'd be happy to talk. Make a long story short, I got 5 minutes, but we developed a relationship with University of Illinois Extension, Dr. Nova, and also Dr. Joseph Abshur, and then Julia Renneman, Department of Journalism, SIU. Would you please stand, Julia? There she is. And what we have done is, as I mentioned, there's a portion of history that's missing in the textbooks, the literature. Inclusivity. And what we've done thus far is interviewed 15 African Americans that have lived the experience, the Black experience in Cairo. And we're in the process of curating it now. But we have hours of it. And what we will eventually do is you pull up at the Ward Chapel, and there will be this QR code in front of the chapel, and it will pull up some of the videos, but also vintage photos, and tell the story of Ward Chapel, or Sumner High School, or McBride. And we're doing that now, and we're curating it. And matter of fact, before I show you something, I want to acknowledge other people on the committee as well. Toria Wilson, Jasmine Shamise, Mr. Lloyd Williams. Stand, Lloyd, let them recognize you. Lloyd, and Jasmine and Dejanay Robinson are our interviewers. And they've done an excellent job taking the time to interview the 15 narrators for this project. Can you hear them? Oh, let me see.
I was born in Cairo, Illinois. I was born in 1951.
I was born here in Cairo on 19th Street.
I was born with a fraternal twin sister named Karen.
My mother put me on the train with my sister with a big old sign that says, going to Cairo.
I'm number 11 of 12 children.
And I ended up in Cairo at 6 weeks old with my grandmother.
As far as I can remember, I always lived in the house that we grew up in on 32nd Street.
And I stayed with my grandmother until I graduated from high school. We grew up in a neighborhood where we didn't even know that we was poor, man. We ran around town and had a good time and then rode our bikes and played ball.
The basketball games, the football games, and the homecoming parade.
Usually roller skating, bike ride, somebody was on the playground doing kickball.
It was a gym at the Lincoln Theater, you know, in Cairo.
It was fun. We had, we sang, we had choir.
We were at SIU in Carbondale, but we came home just about every weekend so that we could be at church because we were in the choir.
I sang in the choir.
We always had something to eat.
But you can smell that wagon 2 blocks over. Man, and he come out there every day in the afternoon, and he popped that top, just selling them hot tamales, melt in your mouth.
Back then, you could collect tops and bottles and cans and take them to Solomon Junkyard and get a few, some corns or what have you. Well, I mean, if we would get 50 cents, oh, we were rich.
10 pieces of candy for a penny. Now, I got a sack full of candy when I get back.
The show wasn't nothing but a dime, you know what I'm saying? Go to the show.
That was the whole neighborhood of kids,
And that was fine until about 1967.
Civil rights movement was strong here at that time. It kind of changed this community. And one of the girls kicked at me, and I grabbed her foot, and I flipped her over, and I ran like hell. They shot all the lights out, around the project.
It was shot into for 169 consecutive nights. This is not something that my parents told me. I lived it.
Until they integrated in 67 from the school, Sumner High School and Cairo High School.
But it never affected our relationship with each other in the neighborhood. And very close knit. And we still are.
And that's what we did even when we got older. If there was problem, we all still leaned on each other, the ones that knew each other in school. I think that was the glue in this whole situation, was the kids back then growing up together, staying together, working together, that kind of changed this community.
There you have it. Matt, can I get that? So that's just a preview, but we have hours and hours of this kind of interviews, and everyone will be on there. There's several of us missing. I'm not on. They interviewed me at length. I'm not on there. Pastor Coleman is on there as well. Pastor, raise your hand there, sir. There he is back there. And there are a few more as well. And also, interesting, we also interviewed the partners, Julia, Madalena, Joseph, and myself in terms of why this project is so important. So we're looking forward to that, and once it's completed, we will share it, but we will deposit it at the Cairo Public Library. Thank you. I'm almost closed. I know I'm running out of time. Quickly, one of the things we're doing is trying to translate the significance of our iconic structures in town. And I'm motivated by this little town in South Dakota, Medora, North Dakota, not South, 121 people. Do you know that they're building the Presidential Library of Teddy Roosevelt, $400 million there? Already they've gotten 75% of it. The federal government's going to do 25%. It's going to open next year, July 4th of 2026. Cairo, we can do this. We can do this. We can do this. And then finally, I've always been a big Langston Hughes fan. And he talks about dreams. And incidentally, he came to Cairo as well. My man Daryl will tell you about that in the 50s. He wanted to come where justice was being pursued. And he came and witnessed it. But as you think about goals and dreams, I'll leave you with this. Hold fast to dreams when dreams die. Life is like a broken winged bird that cannot fly. Hold fast to dreams when dreams go. Life is like a barren field frozen with snow. We're going to cut down those weeds around our dreams and we're going to be successful. Thank you. Questions? It's lunchtime.
Well, if there are any questions, I'm sure we can continue the discussion over lunchtime, but if there are any questions, please let me know. I have one question.
I'm sorry, what's the population, the current population of Cairo?
Anywhere between 1,500 and 1,800.
Okay.
Not 455.
No.
but- Well, thank you so much. Thanks again to our presenters from this morning, Robert Swenson, Marcella Woodson, Gregory Hansen, and Don Patton.